Hi, friends. I have a book to read to you today that I really enjoy. It is a beautifully written story about a little girl who goes owling with her pa. And owling is when you go and you look and see if you can find an owl. So they go on this adventure together, and this book is just so wonderful and so beautifully written, and the pictures are so fantastic that it got this very special medal, this Caldecott Award medal, because the year that it came out, it had the most distinguished pictures. It was the most distinguished picture book that whole year. So this book is very popular. You'll probably see it again in your lifetime, and I really hope that you enjoy it. It was written by Jane Yolen and illustrated by John Schnoher, and it's called Owl Moon. All right. Oh, and there's our main characters, the little girl and her pa. And I wonder where the setting is in this story, where it takes place. It looks like, is it inside or outside? This book happens outside, and it happens at night outside. And what season do you think it is? Do you think it's fall or spring? It looks like it's winter, because look at all that snow on the ground. All right, so we have our main characters, we have our setting where the story takes place. Owl Moon by Jane Yolen, illustrated by John Schnoher. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low like a sad, sad song. And I think that must be where the little girl lives with her pa. That looks like a little farmhouse to me. Do you see? There's the barn right there, and there's the house. And that looks like a shed out back. I could hear it, the train, through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. So she's wearing cap because it's probably really cold outside. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out trains and dogs for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the woods, Pa and I. So where do they go to hunt for owls? They go to look for them in the woods. Okay. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow because he's a little bit taller than she is, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short round shadow bumped along after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. So I bet she's going to do just what he says, huh? Otherwise, he might say, oh, I probably shouldn't have brought you. But I'm sure if she does a good job, then she'll get to go again with him. So she's got to be really, really quiet. I wonder if you've ever had to be that quiet before. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up, as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask, because what did it do to his face? It lit it up. It turned it from dark into a silver mask. And then he called, "Hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo." Try that with me. Hoo, 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 hoo. It was the sound of a great horned owl. So owlers, they want to get the owls to hoo back at them. Again he called out, and then again. After each call he was silent, and for a moment we both listened. But there was no answer. Pa shrugged and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said, sometimes there's an owl and sometimes there isn't. So, why isn't she disappointed? She hasn't seen an owl yet. It's because sometimes there is an owl and sometimes there's not. Is she going to get upset if she doesn't see one? No, because if she goes again, maybe she'll see one next time. Okay. We walked on. I could feel the cold as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back. So imagine a freezing cold hand right on your back. God, it must be so cold. And my nose and the tips of my cheeks felt hot and cold at the same time. Has that ever happened to you when you're really cold? You feel hot and cold at the same time? But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. You have to keep yourself warm. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I had ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. I think she's being very brave. What about you? Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I wonder why the snow was so white. I'm thinking, well, do you think anyone's ever been on the snow before? If it's so perfect and so crystal white, looks like the milk in a cereal bowl? No, I think it's brand new crisp snow that they're about to go walking through. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf over my mouth and listened hard. And then Pa called, say it, want to try it with me? Hoo, 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 hoo. I listened and looked so hard my ears hurt and my eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. What do you think the echo was? Hoo, 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 hoo. Pa almost smiled. Then he called back, hoo, 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 just as if he and the owl were talking about supper or about the woods or the moon or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. So what just happened? The owl hooed back to them. So did they hear an owl? Yes, they did. And if you hoo, a great horned owl hoo, sometimes they'll hoo right back to you. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words that we had not spoken because we were being so quiet. And the shadow hooted again. So where's the owl now? Right over her head. It's flying closer and closer to her and her pa. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, We stared at one another, us and the owl. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without sound. It flew back into the forest. "Time to go home," Pa said to me. I knew that I could talk. I could even laugh out loud. But I was a shadow as we walked home. What do you think that means? I was a shadow. I could have talked, but instead I was a shadow. Do shadows talk? Shadows are very quiet, and so was the little girl. Even though she could start talking, she was so silent. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. Oh, I just love the ending of that story, Under a Shining Owl Moon. It's just so beautiful. So I really hope that you enjoyed that book. And I really hope that that got you kind of thinking about owling. It sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Owling. So for the question I want you to answer today, I would like you to answer this for me. What is owling? And how did the little girl do on her first owling outing with her pa? Do you think she did a good job? Or do you think she did a bad job? Do you think she listened to her pa and did what he wanted her to do? Do you think that she had a nice time? What do you think about her owling adventure? What is owling? And how did the little girl do on her first owling adventure? I'm going to repeat those questions one more time, just those two questions. What is owling, and how did the little girl do on her first owling adventure? All right, thanks guys. I hope that you have an awesome day. Bye.